Okay, I got my 1972 John Deere 301A here again. It's in my garage. Been working on it the last couple days. The main problem I had recently was that it wasn't starting for me again. And so I was trying to get to the bottom of why that could be. One of the things I did was I took the ground wire for the battery. The original ground wire from the factory, I don't know if you can see this, was actually routed to I don't know where it is anymore. Somewhere in there. There's a bolt, so it was just routed to the sheet metal right there. And so I thought it's probably not the best ground. So I took I picked up a new cable, routed it through and down to the mounting bolt on the starter. So that should give me really good ground from here on out. And I got 2/0 cable here, so that's plenty big. Honestly, it's too big, so that's good. No resistance then. But unfortunately that didn't do it. That still did not, I still couldn't get it started. So my assumption was that it was the ignition points within the distributor. So if we take the distributor cap off, this is a 3-cylinder engine, so it's a little smaller. We take the we take the cover off, take the rotor out. If I can do it with one hand, I don't know. Take the rotor off and take the cover off. You can see inside there. So this is the condenser, and the right here, that's the ignition points. So I'm gonna butcher this, but the shaft of the distributor is connected by gear down at the bottom to the camshaft in the engine. So as the cam turns, that opens and closes these points. So when they're closed, that sends current to the ignition coil, and that it allows a high voltage, it creates a magnetic field. And then as the rotor continues to turn, the points open, which collapses the magnetic field and creates a high voltage in the secondary winding in the ignition coil. And then that goes through back to the distributor and out to the spark plugs at the precise time. So the precise time for combustion. So, but this is an old, obviously very old setup. Engines don't use points anymore. So one of the things you have to do is maintenance or upkeep is make sure that the gap on these points stays at the correct gap, so about 20 thousandths. But in order to do that, you have to be able to turn the shaft of the distributor to a high lobe. So, like I said, when it's at high lobe, the points are open. So that's when you have to set the gap. So right now, the points are closed. So that means it's at a low lobe. So we had to turn the crankshaft on the engine, which ultimately we did by just pulling on the V-belt. But because I've got a hydraulic pump on the front of this running the loader, so normally there's a nut on the front of the crankshaft that you would be able to turn with a wrench or something. But since I've got the hydraulic pump on there, you can't do that. We were able to turn that to get it to high lobe, and then we were able to set the points and put it all back together, and it fired right up. So that was definitely the problem. So that's great. So there's one problem down. Then we took it into the garage and put the chains on for the winter. That was definitely needed. We started to grease up all the fittings. So we've got Zerk fittings on the axles and, here and underneath, on the wheel hubs as well. So we started to grease all those up, and I couldn't get grease into the fittings for the loader arm pivot here on either side. So we took the fittings out, tried to dig the grease out. We found out, well, we said it's one bolt, so why don't we knock these pins out and see how dry it is. That one over there was completely bone dry. So we sanded it all up, wire brushed it all, and then packed it refull of grease. So that's great. And then we did, this one wasn't as bad, but we did the same thing here. So these will be good for another quite a long time. I don't think they'd been greased in quite a few years. So we've been giving this tractor a nice little pedicure, I think. And the last thing we were gonna do was, so you can see the wheel over here is very close. So they made these tractors so you can flip the wheel in or flip the wheel out. And I just like it better in, it's less stress on the hub. So this one was in, but this one was out. And so I wanted to switch them. I wanted to switch this one to be in, but it was a son of a gun to get the bolts out. So went to the store, got a 9/16 18 tap, and so now I'm tapping them to hopefully make it easier to get back in. But yeah, so looking forward to that. These rims are very beat up, but I'm not really in the market to buy a new tire and rim right now. So yeah, tires are in real good shape. The other thing I realized was that I pulled the dipstick on the for the engine oil, and I am very low right now, which is actually okay because my oil pan gasket or oil pan drain plug here is leaking a little bit on it's got a copper compression gasket on it. And so I said that whenever I changed the oil, I was gonna fix that. So just gotta get a new gasket for that, and then I can change the oil and we'll be all set to go. Pretty much ready for snow plowing for the winter then, which was the main goal. Alrighty, thanks for watching.